How's it going, everybody? Welcome in to another episode of the Mavs Step Back Podcast. I'm your host, Dalton Trigg. I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Drew Johnson. You can find both of us on X talking about different Mavs things, and we got people in the replies all the time presenting trade ideas and other things. So you can find us on X at Dalton_Trigg and at Coach Drew 33. DJ, the Dallas Mavericks are less than a week away now from the 2025 NBA draft, and Cooper Flagg is going to be a Dallas Maverick. He has only visited one team, and it was the Mavs this week. Management took him out to dinner. I believe it was Tuesday or Wednesday night, and then the following night he went to dinner with some of the players too. So. And then they weren't even planning to have him work out, but apparently, according to Mark Stein, Cooper Flagg insisted on working out for him and said it was like an hour-long thing, and he was very impressive, which is not surprising at all, to us. But that's very good to hear. And then the hype swirling around is that his shot form is a lot better than advertised right now. So, that was one of the things that people were kind of questioning if there was anything to question about this. But I think he's going to hit the ground running, DJ. I think he's going to be outstanding in his first year. Now, look, he may not put up gaudy, inflated numbers like scoring wise, but we just don't know how it's going to turn out because Kyrie's going to be missing half the season. He might, but I just don't think he's going to be a rookie. He's going to be rookie of the year favorite, even though he's not going to have inflated numbers from being on a bad team. I think that's going to be good for everybody because he's not going to have that pressure on his shoulders to carry a franchise from day one. And he's going to be able to do more of the dirty work, the nitty-gritty stuff, which is what he's very good at. So I'm super excited. How are you feeling within 6 days of this coming to fruition?
We're so close, Nico. Don't screw it up now. No, I think this could only work out well. Barring Nico doing something idiotic or some kind of unfortunate injury later down the line. I saw the Grant Hill comparison. That's very interesting. Because we didn't really get to see very much of Grant Hill pre-injury, but pre-injury Grant Hill was being compared to Michael Jordan. So it's really interesting that that's a comparison.
I've got that full Jason Kidd quote if you want me to rattle it off real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so Tim McMahon. Well, actually, it's Tim McMahon, but he said this was Cooper Flagg and his visit with the Mavs. McMahon said, "I'm told Jason Kidd sees shades of another Duke guy in Cooper Flagg, a guy who J. Kidd shared the Rookie of the Year award with, Grant Hill. Cooper Flagg is really going to have a chance, especially early in the season when Kyrie Irving's out, to play a point forward type of game. He's going to have the ball in his hands a lot, and J. Kidd thinks he can facilitate." So
he can. And that's the thing about him. He may not produce, 30 a game, but his win shares, his point shares are going to be off the charts just because of everything that he does in terms of all-around game. There's not a weakness in his game. If there is a weakness, it's in terms of just physicality right now, but that's going to get resolved in 2 or 3 years and just getting older, But as far as like an actual basketball player, there isn't a true weakness in his game. Now, what will be interesting to see is how he meshes with Kyrie Irving whenever Kyrie comes back. Because then, I don't want to say the ball will be in his hands less, but I do think that things will be facilitated for him more. It will, it'll lessen pressure for him even more. So, I'm very curious to see how this all blends together. But I only see positive. Like Cooper may be one of the best plug and play guys that I've ever seen. And this is going to be
Very versatile.
lofty, and I'm going to get some hate over this statement, but I think he is the third best prospect we've seen in the past 25 years.
Look, I've seen a couple of people say that. I don't think you're far off. I mean, I I can see it. I mean, obviously people are going to be a handful of people are going to be hesitant because everybody's like, "Oh, we need to actually see him in the NBA. We need to see him play against NBA competition." And I get it. Last summer was, it was a scrimmage against Team USA. It wasn't like in-game 82 game season, all that kind of stuff. But Team USA is stacked. And your current star at the four, should be playing the five, Anthony Davis, was getting cooked by Cooper Flagg, 17-year-old Cooper Flagg, in those Vegas scrimmages. So he's going to be very good, people. I get wanting to be hesitant and wanting to see it play out before you get to that conclusion, but it's a safe bet. Cooper Flagg, barring some kind of crazy injury setback at some point, he's going to be good. I mean, that's just how it's going to be. He's got all the intangibles. The shot form is a lot better than what a lot of people thought would be, and he's just got. I've been watching these NBA Finals, DJ. The Pacers and Thunder is going to a Game 7. It's been unreal basketball. Like, we couldn't have asked for anything more in this year's finals, from a competitive standpoint. I've been watching TJ McConnell closely, and he's just a dog. Like, he is on the floor. He's not the tallest guy. He's not the biggest guy, but he's always scrapping. He's diving on the floor. He's, sneaking up on the backside and getting steals and, just being a nuisance on both ends of the floor all game long when he's in there. That's the kind of stuff that Cooper Flagg has, on top of his having the size and having the athleticism and having the, potential to be an even better facilitator, going for a point forward, as Tim McMahon said. Like, he's got that same dog mentality as a guy who wasn't as highly touted coming into the NBA, on top of all that other stuff. So that's what I'm super excited about. I mean, if you have a two-way guy that could, blossom into a star, you have a two-way star with that kind of attitude, that's pretty scary.
Dude, motor plus talent plus size is a deadly combination. And you don't really see it very often. You see talent and size mesh together. I don't want to say all the time, but you see it in every draft. But you don't see the killer instinct.
Yep.
I like what this guy has. And I'm going to tell you what, we talk about his offensive game, and it's something to be excited about. But this guy will come in and be, I want to say, an all NBA defender right away.
Yeah.
Right away. In fact, if I had a crystal ball right now, and, everyone's, like Coach Drew's full of crap, but if I had a crystal ball right now, I would say that for years to come, the Defensive Player of the Year award is going to be between Cooper Flagg and Victor Wembanyama. Those are your two.
Well, look, one of his pro comparisons, even by who's the draft people that are with it's the Giovanni guy, Draft Express. Even those guys have had like Kawhi Leonard as a pro comp.
I like that a lot.
I mean, it's there, dude. I mean, I don't think it's far out at all. I mean, I can definitely see it happen. And look, I'm not saying they're the same player, because obviously Cooper Flagg is going to be a better defender than Dirk was. But you know who else had the size and the talent and that nitty gritty work ethic about him? Right there.
Yeah, offensively speaking, it's very similar. It's very similar. The ability to handle the ball, the ability to stretch the floor. There's a lot of similarities with Dirk, but athletically speaking and defensively speaking,
yeah,
he is much further along than Dirk was. And honestly, offensively speaking, he's much further along than Kawhi was at this stage. Like, we keep making these comparisons, but it's comparisons to the way guys are right now in the league, or the way guys were in their prime in the league right now. Like, we look at, like, Panda Hank. I love Panda Hank. He did side by side like comparison of Cooper Flagg to like Scottie Pippen.
Yeah, that
That's
was
a really
great.
good comp. But I got to tell you, the things that we see out of Pippen in those videos, and we have to remember how old Pippen is at that time. Pippen at that time is fully developed. He's ready to go. Cooper Flagg is 18 years old.
Yep.
Cooper Flagg is probably 10 years away from his prime. That is scary.
I think, and I may be wrong about this, but I think it said Cooper Flagg was like the youngest number one overall pick since LeBron. Maybe does that sound right?
I think that's right.
Or close to it, because he reclassified. He should have been a year older. He should have been 19 being drafted, but he reclassified. So now he's 18 entering the league, which is great for the Mavs. So
awesome. No, I think that is right. I think he is the youngest number one pick since LeBron James. But you look at what his comparisons have done and are doing in the league. That's the way they are right now. Cooper Flagg is comparable to that right now. Which
is awesome.
Yeah, I'm ecstatic. I know we joked about getting the number one pick for months on end, and whenever that finally happened, it was I couldn't believe it. I thought that we were dreaming or something, but I'm ecstatic to be in this position. So
yeah, it's not cooling off the conspiracy theorist any that the Lakers just sold for $10 billion. The Buss family, just a few months removed from trading for a generational 26-year-old superstar when they were looking like they were going to be dead in the water when LeBron retired. And then it's like, oh, look, we got Luka Doncic and, traded for him. And then the team that traded him got the number one overall pick in the draft. And then, now our valuation goes up and we're selling the team for $10 billion. It's one big conspiracy mess. And I get it.
It's all very suspicious, Dalton. You and I need to do some serious digging, and we need to release our own 30 for 30.
I don't know, man. Adam Silver might have those black SUVs showing up in the front yard if we dug too far into it.
You saying that Adam Silver's got the Secret Service?
Just see the black SUVs pulling up in the front yard. It's like, okay, all right.
Oh my gosh.
We get it. We just got
lucky.
we just got lucky. That's it. Wait, what'd you say? The eye?
No, the NBA's FBI.
I thought you were talking about Handmaid's Tale off of it's on Hulu.
I haven't seen that. I've heard it's good. I haven't seen it though.
You need to see it because they do have this thing called the Eyes, and they do roll up in black SUVs. So I thought
like the secret police.
Yeah.
Nice.
Make sure everybody's in line. So, but yeah, I'm super excited, man. It's whether you think it's a conspiracy, whether you believe it's just universal great luck, like once in a lifetime kind of deal. Which I personally, look, the conspiracy stuff is fun. I do think it was time that the Mavs had some good lottery luck, and thank God it was now of all times. But, they had never moved up. Now, forget the number one pick. They had never moved up any in the draft lottery since they've been in existence since 1980. So, in a couple of those years, they had the number one odds, and they actually moved down in both of those years, back-to-back years. So they were due. So I'm just ecstatic that it's happening in this draft of all drafts, because Cooper Flagg is the real deal. He is a surefire. You don't even think about it. You're taking him number one. Look, Dylan Harper is great. I think he's going to be a really good point guard in the NBA for years to come. But when you have a guy Cooper Flagg's size who can potentially be a point forward and do all the nitty-gritty stuff, there's really no substitution for that. When you have the size and you can be a two-way star, that's the kind of guys that can get you over the hump in today's NBA. And then past Dylan Harper, it's kind of a crapshoot. There's a lot of good talent, but it's like if you're looking for the surefire thing, like a surefire star, there's a lot of high quality guys that are going to be high quality rotational pieces on teams for years to come, all throughout this draft. But you gotta, you're not as surefire as Cooper Flagg when you go down the list. So
No, Cooper Flagg, I'm gonna put it into some nerd terms, so just bear with me. But whenever you're playing like a 2K game and you're able to create draft picks, Cooper Flagg is that guy that you create. You situate at the top of the draft, and you make him solid at every single skill down the line. There are no holes. There are no holes in his game. And that's why I'm fairly confident in my take that I think he's the third best prospect we have seen in the past 25 years since LeBron James. He's the best prospect besides Victor Wembanyama since LeBron James.
yeah,
I think.
and I'm not gonna wish. I'm not wishing anything on anybody, but given Victor's height, there's really not a good track record, long-term track record for guys that are that tall. So, I agree with you. Victor, unbelievable prospect, like measurables off the charts. But, I could see how Cooper could be more sustainable for the next several years. So,
oh yeah, super durable. And time may tell that Cooper ends up being the better prospect, but with Victor, you got to average in the fact that we've never seen anything like that before. No, the closest thing that we've seen to Victor Wembanyama was back in Michael Jordan's day, and it was a guy named Ralph Sampson from the University of Virginia. And we never saw what he could truly be because of injuries.
Yeah, Victor's an alien.
He is. He's from another planet. And if he stays healthy, excuse my daughter, but if he stays healthy, he's going to do some things that we've never seen done with a basketball. I'm fairly confident in that, but it's a big if. It's like you said, it's a big if. They list him at 7'3". I think he's closer to 7'5".
He's 7'5", 7'6", easy. I don't care what they say.
Easy. I would love to see him stand next to Yao Ming because I bet he's eye level with him.
And he's been spending the summer like with the monks. He's been meditating with monks, and he shaved his head and everything. If he stays healthy, he's going to be a problem. But I can't wait to see the renewed Dallas San Antonio rivalry with Victor Wembanyama and Cooper Flagg is going to be something for years to come. I'm so excited about it. All right, so we've talked a little bit about Cooper Flagg. We mentioned the Mavs winning the lottery in one of our previous pods, and we talked about it a little bit, but we hadn't just really gotten into the nitty gritty of what it means, getting Cooper Flagg and how he plays and all that stuff. So I did want to touch on that to start this pod. One more thing, because we talked about trades on our last pod, and I had one that came up. There's really a couple, but I had one that came up in one of our group chats that we're in earlier today. Let me pull it up real quick. It's let's see. All right, so this one came up. It was a three-way trade between the Mavs, the Jazz, and the Hawks. And obviously, Kyrie's going to be out for the first half of the season. Mavs need some guard help, whether they draft that, whether they trade for it, whether they just sign free agents. Oh, and by the way, I have been informed, this is a Mavs step back exclusive, if you will. I have been informed that Dennis Smith Jr.'s workout with the team, meeting and workout with the team went very well, and they are actually planning to have him back later this summer, to play with the guys, whether that's in the scrimmages. I think he might end up getting a training camp invite too. So that's going to be on the table. I've been told that went very well. So we'll see. I could see Dennis being a quality rotation piece, especially while Kyrie's out. I know people give me flack sometimes for waving my DSJ flag all the time, but I mean, I'm telling you, he's a dog defensively, and he can facilitate a little bit too. So that's something to keep an eye out for as we get through the summer and closer to training camp and everything. But this three-way trade I saw was very interesting. So it has the Mavs receiving Colin Sexton from the Jazz and the number 22 pick in this year's draft from the Atlanta Hawks. The Jazz would get Jaden Hardy, a second-round pick from the Hawks, 2027, and then that Lakers first-round pick in 2029 from the Mavs, that they got in the Luka trade. And then the Hawks get Daniel Gafford, who is just like Sexton. He's on an expiring contract too. So in theory, the Mavs, because I mean, Jaden Hardy, I'm not sure he's going to play much of a role going forward anymore anyway. So in theory, the Mavs would be swapping out Colin Sexton for Daniel Gafford, and they'd be swapping out that 2029 first-round Lakers pick for the number 22 pick in this year's draft. Now, I personally really like this, DJ. I think, Colin Sexton, he's one of those guys that fits what the Mavs are trying to do defensively at the guard position. He's pretty intense. He's one of those dog type, get down in a deep stance, like get up into you type defenders. He's very efficient too, near 50, 40, 90 efficiency, I believe. Maybe not 90. I don't know what his free throws are, but really efficient. And then also, if you get that number 22 pick, a guy we talked about on a previous pod, Walter Clayton Jr., he's probably going to be available at pick number 22. And some of the rumblings I've heard, the rumors I've heard, is that the Mavs really like Walter Clayton Jr. Like, if they had stayed at number 11, they may have considered taking him that high. Now, I don't know if they would have, but like I said, it's just rumors and rumblings. They really like Walter Clayton Jr., and that might be their guy, that they're targeting, trying to trade back into the first round somewhere. So love that trade. What do you think?
The reason I like it so much is now you're not necessarily locked into having to take a guard. Now you can just take what's available, what the best available prospect is at the time. So I like that a lot. I also like the fact that Sexton is an expiring contract. So if it doesn't work out, he's easily movable. And at the very worst, he's gone the next year. So I also like the fact that we're getting more of an immediate draft compensation rather than 2029, because nobody knows what's in 2029 right now. I know these people, these morons, rank middle schoolers, and that never pans out well. It never does. Those guys are not going to be McDonald's All-Americans. They're just, there's who has been seen so far, and they haven't even hit growth spurts yet.
Yeah.
So we don't know what the value of that pick is, but I would wager that the value of that Lakers pick is actually going to decrease, because I bet the Lakers build around Luka.
Yeah.
And I bet they're pretty freaking good by the time 2029 rolls around.
Right. And depending on the rest of their roster building, I mean, there can be debates on how good they might be over the next 5+ years, but they're not going to be bad. They're going, if Luka is healthy and he's leading your team, you're going to have a good team. That's just how it is. Like, they're not going to be lottery picks. So I mean, I'm with you. I'd do that trade in a heartbeat. And then back to Colin Sexton, the guy's only 26 years old.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
he feels like he's been here forever.
I know he's been around forever, but he's 26 years old. He played 63 games for the Jazz last year, and let's be honest, they were tanking toward the end of the season. So, he probably would have played around 70+ games if under normal circumstances. Averaged 18.4 points per game, 4.2 assists, 48% shooting overall, 40.6% from three, and 86.5% from the free throw line. So yeah, he's flirting with that 50-40-90 efficiency. And at 26 years old, if you make that trade, you might even consider offering him an extension. Nothing too crazy, because obviously you want to see how things work out. But, if you could give him like a 2 or 3 year extension after trading for him, that makes the trade even more worth doing. Because I think he fits. I'm not overrating Colin Sexton. But he's good. He is a good player, and especially a good player that you can plug in there, while Kyrie is out. And you'd have an undersized backcourt, but you could even plug him in there with some lineups with Kyrie when Kyrie's back, and have some fun stuff going on there, especially with how big the Mavs are going to be from the 3 through the 5. Like,
we'll be fine.
Yeah.
We'll be fine from a size perspective, especially considering that Cooper can switch on literally every position on the floor defensively. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys he can play the 2. I'm not sold on that.
Yeah.
I don't think that can happen. That's just, it doesn't work for me. But, defensively he can. So I think you're fine bringing in a guy like Sexton, who is already a defensive-oriented guy anyway.
Right.
No, I think he meshes incredibly well. And the most beautiful part of it for me, though, is the contract. I mean, he's very easily tradable if it doesn't work out.
Yeah. And another, and we've talked about this on some of our recent pods too, but another thing I like about that specific 3-way trade, and again, just to recap, 3-way trade, Mavs, Jazz, Hawks. Mavs would get Colin Sexton and the number 22 pick in this year's draft from the Hawks. Jazz get Jaden Hardy, 2027 second round pick, and then a 2029 first round pick, Lakers pick from the Mavs. That second round pick they would be getting would be from Atlanta. And then the Hawks get Daniel Gafford. So another part of this trade, this is the last thing we'll talk about, and we've mentioned it on previous pods, is if you send out more players than you bring in, you open up another roster spot. So, for example, people are saying, oh, well, Anthony Davis and Derek Lively, they have injury concerns sometimes. And, people, that's one of the things people are hesitant about when we mention trading Gafford. But the truth of the matter is, I don't see a way the Mavs can extend both PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford without getting into some real, restrictive CBA stuff. So you're going to have to trade one of them, I think. And I think they really want to keep PJ Washington and extend him this summer. So if you're sending out Gafford and you're sending out Jaden Hardy and you're bringing in Colin Sexton and a first round pick, which I guess if you're going to keep that first round pick, I guess it evens out. But if you can open up another roster spot, you could sign a guy like Kai Jones, who showed some real promise for you at the end of last season, to be a backup center. Or you can, there's many different things, because Spencer Dinwiddie, he was on an expiring contract too. So, yeah, they will have at least one open roster spot, even if they did this trade and they drafted Walter Clayton Jr., for example. So there's a lot of different things that could go on between now and the draft. And then obviously you have the KD situation hovering over everybody. We have no idea where he's going to go. It's been mentioned San Antonio and Houston, Toronto, and all. Who knows? But, I think we can safely say that the Mavs are out of the KD business at this point, because it's been completely dead.
And I'm okay with that.
I'm
happy with that.
Yeah.
Because before we got the number 1 pick, I was certain that Nico was going to trade whatever pick we got for Kevin Durant.
Yeah, there was a dark timeline possibility there where the Mavs stayed at 11 in the draft lottery, and then they would have had to trade Clay, PJ, Gafford, and probably either Caleb Martin or Max Christie, but it would have had to have been like at least 4 players, and 3 of those players had to be Clay, PJ, and Gafford for KD, and that would have been absolutely awful. They probably would have thrown in I was scared they would have thrown in the number 11 pick in that scenario too.
They
But
would have.
yeah.
I think they would have. I think that's inevitable.
But it didn't happen. It didn't happen. We're safe. We're on a better path, and we are being positive, baby. We are building for the future now, and hopefully another championship in the near future. But all right, guys, that's going to do it for another episode. I said we'd stay on here for about 30 minutes today, just because I wanted to talk about Cooper Flagg, but I saw that 3-way trade, and I was like, we gotta mention it. But as we get closer to the draft, we're going to try to, I'm going to see what your schedule is like, DJ, but probably Tuesday next week, come back on here and do one more pre-draft pod, because I've got a couple more trade scenarios I want to talk about specifically. And then on draft day or draft night, I don't know if we'll do it live or we'll just do a recap, soon after the draft happens, but we're going to come on here and do a recap and probably have a special guest with us that night too. So we'll see how it goes. But guys, we appreciate it. Please be sure to go like, rate, and subscribe on all your favorite podcast platforms. If you're watching on your computer or YouTube or whatever, that little QR code you see up here, click on that and it'll take you to our Substack. And, we post all of our pods there too, as well as written work. If you follow us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and everything, you get all of our podcasts. But if you want our written work as well, go subscribe to our Substack as well. And there's a free subscription option. There's a paid subscription option if you want, access to future exclusive stuff too, as we obtain that. So we appreciate it, guys. Y'all have a great rest of your day. Have a great weekend. And we'll see you next week, where Cooper Flagg will be set to become a Dallas Maverick. Y'all have a good one.